Are Manchester United still the biggest club in the world?
I don't think they ever were the biggest club in the world.
Do you not?
I think
Madrid.
I think they were at one point when you had Ronaldo and they were winning the league every season and they won the Champions League and.
Yeah, but I just think in terms of.
So you're saying they were never the biggest club?
I just think Real Madrid are the biggest club in the world.
I think they are now. I think it's always been between those two.
Yeah, well, I'd agree with that.
Yeah. But I think Man United aren't the biggest club in the world now. I think it is Real Madrid. But I think the 90s, like late 90s, 2000s, I think Man United were the biggest.
What are you saying, Josh?
That Champions League, 99, that just...
Well, yeah, because Real Madrid have won 4 Champions Leagues in a row since Man United were last on top of the game. So obviously they've then...
I actually think United are third.
Third?
I think it goes Madrid, Barca, and then us.
Right.
I think, I don't know, it'd be interesting to see because Barca are a little bit like us where they're... I know they won the league last... was it last year they won the league?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but they're still not quite Barca of old. But I think Barca dominated for so long that I think they have now taken that. I think it's Madrid, Barca, and then it's us. Personally.
So I got a few facts together on this one, and one thing that I found really interesting is a team that no one's mentioned yet is Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who are obviously the biggest team in Germany by far. But in 2021, which is like the last available reliable data, Manchester United finished 4th in shirt sales in the world, which I would class as a pretty big indicator as to who's the biggest club. So it went Bayern Munich were first.
Oh, wow.
With over 3 million. Then it was Real Madrid. Then it was Liverpool. Then it was Manchester United. So I honestly, when I was researching this, I really thought Man United would be top. For some reason, I just thought that they'd have the most shirt sales because the Premier League markets
I wouldn't have
itself.
guessed Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
Yeah, which shirt sales were they selling then? Bayern Munich, who was that?
What do you mean?
In
Like
terms of
a certain player who...
Oh no, I don't know. That's
Lewandowski
just
or
like
something,
overall
maybe?
shirts. Yeah. I suppose in 2021 they still had Lewandowski and a few more star players, but maybe it's just German fans are more passionate.
Because
Oh, like the
Liverpool,
teams-
you could say, Salah would have sold most of the shirts, I would assume. So, but
Yeah, and I would also assume that maybe because like German football is really big, and the countries around Germany might not have as many good, like Poland, etc., might not have as many good football teams. Whereas Belgium.
Yeah.
Whereas in England, for example, most people who are in Wales will probably still support Swansea or Cardiff, and they'd never think about buying a Man United or Liverpool shirt. So that probably amplifies Bayern Munich a little bit. But I found that really interesting. And then I looked into club revenues as well, because I think that's a pretty big indicator, because it's not just about shirts, it's like tickets, merchandise, everything overall. And I was really surprised to see Man City are first. So Man City generated 621 million, and then Real Madrid was second with 604 million. So that's the second, that Real Madrid are second again. Liverpool are third again with 595 million, and Manchester United are fourth again with 583.
What year was that from?
2021, 2022.
is there an asterisk next to the City one, though? Because
No.
aren't they... there's all this stuff hanging over. They've been like moving accounts and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Something like allegedly.
But revenue also does take into account cash winnings, prize money.
Mm-hmm.
So they will have got a lot of money from winning the league. So that comes into... I mean, I don't disagree. I think United have slipped a little bit in terms of all of that. I mean, like the shirt sales, for example, like you said with Salah. And I think with somebody like Salah, especially like with him being such a prominent Muslim player, I think his shirt will sell massively in, Saudi Arabia, in Qatar, in all of these, in Egypt, in all of these countries because of his, like his belief and everything like that. So I think that contributes to it. And like you say, Bayern, they're the big club in Germany. I know German fans are actually very passionate about their teams, but yeah, and I mean, as well, I think there's been a shift recently in, say, UK fashion where there's a lot of people now wearing football shirts that aren't necessarily their team. So I think these teams that have nice shirts like Bayern Munich have always had nice.
Yeah, Dortmund as well. Dortmund were in the top 10 somewhere.
So I think that's starting to play a factor as well in it where, you kind of like 5-10 years ago, you'd only really buy a top from your team. Nowadays, you've got
People buy retro tops and stuff like that. Like people collect retro kits.
Even
and
at first podcast, I had my Barca top on, so that. So it's all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I had one more stat to give you as well. So this is on the club market values on Transfer Market. So this is just like what the overall squad's worth, because I thought that's a decent indicator as well. Unsurprisingly, I just looked at the Premier League here. City were top. And then Arsenal second, Chelsea a third, and Man United a fourth yet again. So for me, I know that obviously that doesn't really indicate the size of the club. It more indicates how much the owners are spending. But the fact that Man United were fourth on all of those, I was like, yeah, maybe. It's weird though, because when I was growing up, I fully believed, because I suppose you had Ronaldo and all those star players, obviously had Rooney, Tevez, loads of different players coming in and out of the squad that were all huge names around the world. It's made me think Man United are really missing that at the minute. I know you've got Bruno, who's been fantastic for years, and Rashford's really big. But is Rashford as big around the world? Is it just because he's English and because he does so much good work in England?
I think to other footballers, he is. So I saw an interview, for example, with Alex Balde, the left back from Barcelona, and somebody asked him, if you could have any English player to play for Spain, who would it be? And he said Rashford. So I think the appreciation of Rashford from in the football community in terms of players and managers, I mean, like Xavi, for example, has spoken very highly of Rashford a few times, but I don't think he's massive. But I think actually, from a football standpoint, I'm actually quite happy we don't have that, because I think in recent years we've tried to have that. We've pushed for it too much, where we've just kind of thrown money at players to sign big names, where you've got your Di Marias, your Pogbas, we bought Ronaldo back.
Even Ibrahimovic for a season or two, yeah.
Cavani, you've got all of these players, and I think, Ibra, I think, did well for us in the few years that he was with us, and it was a shame Cavani was as injured as he was, because again, I think
he had a lot about him, didn't he?
He would have done very well for us, but I think in recent years we've tried to do that, and I think we've even done that a little bit with like Varane and Casemiro. And Casemiro's paid off, and Varane, somewhat, I'm still on the fence about that, really. But I think in recent years we've tried too hard to kind of just sign a big name, whereas now you look at the squad and you go, well, who's the superstar? Well, probably Rashford and Bruno, but they're not, If you were to look on the world stage, left wingers, you're right, you've got Vinny Jr., and then 10s, you've got, De Bruyne. So I'm quite happy at the moment, the fact that we don't have the biggest name in football, because actually I think the way we're building and the place that we're at football-wise, we don't need a big star.
Yeah, I feel you. What do you feel like, Simon? Because growing up, Liverpool were always in a much lesser position than Man United throughout my life, like in football. Liverpool were pretty crap for a while, actually.
Oh, yeah.
There was the Torres bit where Torres was obviously a fantastic player, but then there was a period after him leading up to the last few years where it was really poor.
Oh, the Roy Hodgson years.
Yeah, it was when you had Andy Carroll playing up front, players like that. How do you feel about, because it's Liverpool have caught back up again. Yeah. Where do you think Man United sit in the rankings now?
I still think the two biggest clubs in the world are United and Madrid. I think Madrid are the biggest at the moment because of the success on the pitch, but I just think Man United, they're a global brand. Obviously, they're a football club, but they're a brand, and the brand's recognised everywhere across the world. I think it's the two key markets as well. I think with United, it's the Far East, and I do think that Champions League in '99, and when they went over to do the Club World Cup thing over there, I think as well, that's their market. And then Real Madrid have got South America, like Mexico and stuff like that. So it's those two key markets. I know Saudi Arabia and Qatar is kind of up and coming and stuff, but it's those two key markets that if you crack them, then you're up there, because Liverpool have got the Far East market as well at the moment.
Yeah,
but I
was going to say, because
Liverpool
were above United in those shirt sales figures, which I know they've had a much better last few years, and that was from the 21 season when you guys were absolutely firing on all cylinders. So you would maybe expect that a little bit, but I didn't think Liverpool would be anywhere near United, to be honest.
Well, I just think it's probably because United probably have regressed a little. You think of Manchester United, you think of the success that they've had and that it's built on, but obviously in the last few years it's not been that way, since Fergie's left. But
last decade,
yeah. So I think, we as a club, Liverpool, we have grown massively on and off the pitch, which has been brilliant. A lot is said about the owners, what they do and don't do, and all that kind of stuff. But we are a global team now again. I know we're not in the Champions League, but we are a global team, and that's. We're definitely up there, definitely.
Yeah, well, I think Liverpool have caught up massively. Ellis, what do you think? Would you say Man United? Where would you put them in the top clubs in the world?
So the thing is, there's not a direct.
There's not like one stat you can say to.
Yeah, I just don't even. I can't think of the word that I'm looking for. But there's not like a direct description of what a big club is. Like, there's so many different factors you have to take into consideration. It's not just about on the pitch. It's what I could kind of say is, you look at people who don't know football, like over in like. Standard American person, get them to name teams. They're going to name teams like Real Madrid, Man United. That factors into it. I don't think definitely not the biggest club in the world at the moment. I'd still say they're the biggest club in England. I think that goes without saying, to be completely honest with you. But obviously Real Madrid, 14 Champions Leagues. That's a lucrative history. just even if they don't do much for the next 5 years, I'd still consider them the biggest club in the world.
Yeah, I mean, I think Real Madrid are top. I'd probably put Man United in the top 3, but I'm not sure who I'd put second. Maybe I agree with you, Josh. I think maybe Barca or Bayern had come second, because we've not really spoke about Barca that much, but I think just that legacy that Messi left there, and that era of Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets, Puyol, Messi. Anyone who watched that, I think, had an instant for Barcelona.
Spain winning the World Cup in 2010. Well, their success predominantly having Barcelona players on the pitch as well, winning the Euros, then the World Cup, and then the Euros in 3 back-to-back tournaments. It's quite an impressive feat. So a lot of Barca players in there. So.
That Barcelona team was so good.
It's changed football. That's what it is. You got, looking back over history, you got like the Ajax teams, Milan teams, and the Barcelona teams. They changed the way football is seen and played. And I don't know when we'll get another team like that, to be honest.